The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is one of the most captivating gaming experiences I've ever had in a long while. Not only does this reinvigorate the Zelda franchise, it also breaks free of the series' usual convictions, adding elements that both complement the environment and player agency. Time and time again, The Legend of Zelda has always been a linear experience, with small touches of an open world. Breath of the Wild aims to do the reverse and provide the player with a huge open landscape that the player can explore from the get-go, handing you all the key items that you'll need to complete dungeons and obtain items. The game doesn't even bother with teaching the player the base mechanics in a cohesive way in favor for letting the player figure it out for themselves. I definitely enjoy the sheer amount of freedom the player has access to. Nothing in this game is inherently holding your hand or preventing you from playing the game the way you want to play it. I mean, even after the starting area, the game only advises you not to go attack the final boss before you do the other quests. It's totally within your power to completely disregard that advice and gun it straight for Hyrule Castle, where you'll immediately get your shit pushed in by the dozens of guardians patrolling the area. Thank you, video game! That's all I ever ask for! Let me take a stab at the big bad before you deem me unworthy to even attempt. I'm being shown that I'm ill-prepared rather than being told 100 times because the plot says so. Speaking of the plot, it's alright. It's not exactly the most engaging narrative, but it's completely serviceable for the average player. Oh, and Nintendo, if your game's not heavy on story, don't fucking advertise it that way. You bunch of liars. Hyrule Castle is being taken over by an evil force called Calamity Ganon, and you know he's evil because look how black and cloudy he looks. And it's up to our hero Link, yes Link, not you, fuck you, Link, save that petty shit for your horse, you narcissist, to journey across the land to restore power to the 4 divine beasts, and recover his lost memories of the past. This sends him on an epic journey across the land, meeting new friends, fighting enemies, and making bonds with those he comes across. The game does an alright job trying to tell the story that it's trying to tell in the way that it's trying to tell it. It doesn't execute everything flawlessly, but it's the elements surrounding the narrative, the art style, the music, the presentation, all warrant some level of engagement. And the game is kind of a masterpiece in other aspects, so I'll give it a pass. I mean, so what if The Last Supper didn't feature Jesus getting eaten by Kronos? Doesn't change the fact that it's a fucking beautiful picture. The cel-shaded art style adds an overall vibrancy and charm to the open world, making it feel very humbling. This game's use of color is very, for the lack of a better word, breathtaking, and I can see it holding up for quite a while. There are a few inconsistencies in the design, like the cartoonishly abstract monsters juxtaposed with normal, non-exaggerated humans. It's like the G.I. Joe fighting the Care Bears. This doesn't break immersion, it's just kind of weird and inconsistent with everything else the game does mechanically. All other races with human elements follow the same structure. All the horses are shaped like actual horses, all dogs are shaped like actual dogs. Trees are trees, rocks are rocks, grass is grass, water is water, and then here comes the Mutant League. The music is one of the things that I was excited to hear from this game because of the Oriental bass orchestral composition. And if there's one thing Drake likes to hear, it's Oriental Orchestra. It is amazing how much detail went into the audio tracks. Almost all of the songs perfectly capture the tone of the presented scenario and resonates with the scenes. Sad moments are quiet and subtle. Walking around the open world has small yet subtle hints of the main theme of the song. Very distinct and interesting themes, both for day and night. When an enemy spots you, the music slowly crescendos into this really interesting tribal beat. I mean, yes, there are a few inconsistencies with the overall sound quality, and there are a few immersion-breaking audio cues, like the Sheikah tracker, the enemy death, the fucking Sheikah tracker. But it's all used very intelligently and it complements the art style so perfectly. Like I want to drop acid to this soundtrack. It amazes me that the Wii U can handle the technology on display. The Kingdom of Hyrule is a huge map, and I mean huge, having a diverse array of landscapes and environments, all with their own ecosystem and weather patterns. This world just feels so alive and unique. There are travelers and wildlife that can also be attacked by monsters, and special events will trigger as you travel the land. And you can tell someone at Nintendo played Castlevania Simon's Quest and Majora's Mask consecutively to come up with plot reasons why enemies respawn.
Please don't let there be a curse, please don't let there be a curse, please don't let there be a...
You can just get lost exploring everything in every area, which you possibly can if you never had a map. But even if you didn't have a map, all the high areas in this game give you somewhat of a complete view of the entirety of Hyrule. Not all of these areas transition well between one another, like who the hell thought it was a good idea to put the snowy mountain area next to the desert? But there is a plethora of activities to do in each area, and you can inadvertently complete side missions that you're given before you even pick up the quest. There are other mechanics that aid in exploration, such as scavenging off of dead enemies, surviving harsh conditions, taking photographs to document wildlife, cooking new recipes for your ingredients, and oh no. It's usually difficult to pin down Link's character in most Zelda games, if he even has a character and isn't just defaulted to a self-insert Mary Sue. Not saying that he always is, Skyward Sword notwithstanding, but there is sometimes a disconnect between whether or not Link is a character or is just the player role-playing as Link. And it seems we don't have to worry about that much in Breath of the Wild, seeing as Link has a well-rounded personality with his own personal quirks and emotions. Sure, he remains silent throughout everything, but that's part of his character as one of them thar silent protagoni. And I'm not sure if this is a spoiler or not, but Link and Zelda are not a couple in this game. All plot threads show that their relationship is strictly between Maiden and Protector. And you know what? This is by far one of the most emotionally compelling interpretations of their relationship. There is plenty that is said about the relationship, but they leave enough of their characters open for interpretation of how the player feels about their relationship, which is surprising. Considering that in the last game, the fact that these two were in love was practically shoved down our throat to an almost ruinous and detrimental degree. Here, they're keeping it quiet and letting the relationship speak for itself, which is in turn keeping in line with the design of the rest of the game. Holy shit. But what these games usually do excel at is giving us a cast of colorful characters to get invested in. Not just the supporting characters, but every single NPC in this game has a name, personality, and trait. And if they don't,
run in fear and never look back!
Some characters are going to be more deep than others, clearly. I mean, every single person that you meet has a name and a face, but it definitely adds to how engaging the overall world feels. But what's that I hear? No one asking me to recharge my batteries or take a break? No one's halting my progress to tell me something completely irrelevant? No one forcing me to do a goddamn thing because of lore. It's almost as if this game respects my fucking intelligence to figure shit out. And if I can't figure something out that the game is trying to tell me, well, I guess I'll never know because I'm fucking retarded, and I have me to blame for that, not because the game is being a douche. So thank you, Nintendo, for finally realizing that your core fan base aren't a bunch of 8-year-olds. Okay, I think that's a good time to stop with all this gay-ass positivity and move on to my negatives. Which is actually very short, which is, again, surprising, considering that this is a Zelda game, which usually have flaws of the... It's like looking at your daughter's first credit card bill and discovering that she's actually a pretty reasonable spender, unlike her mom who spends money on vibrators that don't work on launch.
Yeah, I don't even know where that joke was going, just roll with it.
The combat in this game is by far some of the clunkiest things I've ever controlled in a video game. And I do this game no favors by playing it after coming off of the cusp of Neo, an eloquently designed combat system that's trying to mimic another, more superior eloquently designed combat system. Fighting one enemy is fine. Fighting several enemies with a combat system that doesn't support that function is not. And it's the main reason why I avoid combat altogether. It's not like there's leveling up or anything. Weapon degradation is also very annoying. I don't have a problem with the system being there, I just feel like these weapons should be lasting a whole lot longer than they actually do. I would prefer that enemies drop less equipment and have more durable items. Because how the system right now just feels like needless busy work and fuck Thunder. Just fuck Thunder. Also, the game's presentation is very lacking. There doesn't seem to be much thought behind the game's interface. The loading screen is bland and uninteresting, the title screen is practically non-existent, and there's no flair or charm to the menus. Nothing is stylized to match the game, it's just an opaque black box with Nexa font. Riveting. Also, the targeting system is absolute garbage. 20 years, Nintendo, and you still can't figure out a non-awkward way to target a monster like, I don't know, every other RPG ever? Also, what's up with the insane difficulty curve? Every enemy can do 4 hearts of damage, and you start the game with only 3 hearts. Was all that shit at the start of the game just a cruel joke?
And also, the main dungeons and bosses are as interesting as watching someone Photoshop Jesus being eaten by Kronos for an edgy joke. I mean, aside from maybe the Fire Dungeon and maybe the Thunder boss, there really isn't a whole lot of variety to them. Considering that all the bosses are the same person and all the dungeons have the same puzzles. Kind of the main drawback of having all your key items at the beginning of the games, because now all of the dungeons are very uninteresting. And although I do enjoy the freedom that you have in this game, it does undercut a lot of the plot elements. I mean, your main villains are going to appear in one part of the story, in only that part of the story. Any other encounter is just insignificant.
In short, I had a blast playing Breath of the Wild. It's not exactly the best RPG, or open world game, or adventure game, or any of the combination of the 3. In fact, I say it requires a little bit more polish, but its use of music, art style, sense of scale, and exploration more than make up for its lackluster approach to presentation, finicky gameplay, and very uninvolving story. I will give it credit for at least trying to make the story sound interesting by parsing out through the various exploration methods, and this is probably the most fun I've had with a Zelda game in a very long time. I mean, who'd have thought that actually letting a game be fun was actually fun? Go fig.
Hey guys, my name's Drake. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications if you want to be up to date with all the videos that go on this channel. And if you like what you see, why don't you head on down to my Patreon if you feel like supporting what I do here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.